My name is Beverly Farrell, and I'm 34 years old. Until one quiet sentence in an Italian restaurant, I believed I was in a stable, committed relationship with the man I'd been dating for 2.5 years. We met the way most modern couples do, through mutual friends at a birthday party. Nothing dramatic, nothing cinematic, just an easy conversation that turned into drinks, then weekends together, then the unspoken assumption that we were building towards something solid. He worked in software development. I worked in digital marketing. Different worlds, compatible rhythms. We didn't live together yet, but we spent most weekends at each other's places and talked casually about moving in soon, like it was inevitable. That Friday night was supposed to be ordinary, a date night. My idea. I'd finally secured a reservation at an upscale Italian restaurant downtown, the kind with low lighting, white tablecloths, and a wine list that made you feel adult just by holding it. I'd been excited about it for weeks. When I picked him up, he seemed normal, relaxed. He talked about work, about a project he was leading, about how glad he was the week was over. Standard date night energy. Nothing felt wrong. Not yet. We ordered appetizers, entrees, a bottle of red wine the server recommended. The conversation flowed easily at first: weekend plans, a concert next month. The usual couple talk that fills space comfortably when you think everything is fine. But somewhere between the main course and the last half glass of wine, his energy shifted. He started checking his phone more often. Not aggressively, just enough to register. Enough to feel like I wasn't the only thing in front of him anymore. "Everything okay?" I asked, setting my fork down. "Yeah," he said quickly. "Just work stuff. Campaign deadlines don't care about weekends, right?" I nodded and let it go. I didn't want to be that person. The suspicious girlfriend. I trusted him, or at least I thought I did. The waiter came back to clear our plates and asked if we wanted dessert. "Just the check, please," my boyfriend said before I could answer. The waiter nodded and walked away. I took a slow sip of wine, watching my boyfriend scroll through his phone thumb, moving like he was trying to outrun a thought. 5 minutes later, the waiter returned and placed the leather bill folder between us. My boyfriend reached for it, immediately opened it, glanced at the total. Then he looked up at the waiter and said clearly, evenly, "Please split the bill. We're not really together." The table went silent. The waiter froze. His eyes flicked to me, confused, uncomfortable, young enough to not know where to put his face. I felt heat rise up my neck, my chest tightening, but I kept my expression neutral. I nodded once. "Sure," I said, "split it." No argument, no scene. My boyfriend handed over his card without looking at me. I placed mine beside it. The waiter took both like they were live wires and disappeared. "We're not really together," I repeated quietly once he was gone. "That's interesting phrasing." "I meant financially," he said. "We split things." "You said exactly what you meant," I replied. "You just didn't think I'd hear it." "Can we not do this here?" he snapped. "Do what I asked calmly. React." The waiter returned with 2 receipts. I signed mine and tipped 20%. He didn't deserve to suffer for our mess. My boyfriend tipped 15 like he always did. Outside on the sidewalk, he turned to me. "Are you driving me home, or are you going to pout all night?" "I'm driving you home," I said, "but we're talking." The drive was silent until I stopped the car outside his building. "What was that?" I asked. He exhaled sharply. "Fine. I've been thinking about us for a while." "And you decided to announce it to a waiter," I said, "instead of me." "It just came out." "Yes," I said softly. "The truth usually does." When he got out of the car, he said, "I think we need space." I watched him walk away, then drove home. That night I didn't cry. I didn't call a friend. I didn't send paragraphs of texts. I did one quiet thing. I removed him from my family phone plan. We weren't really together after all. I woke up Saturday morning to the sound of my phone buzzing on the nightstand, vibrating itself inch by inch toward the edge, like it wanted to escape the room before I did. His name lit up the screen. I let it ring. It stopped, started again, stopped, and started a third time. I answered on the 4th. "What did you do?" His voice was sharp, clipped already halfway into anger. "Good morning," I said, padding into the kitchen. I pressed the button on the coffee maker and leaned against the counter. "What's wrong?" "My phone service changed," he said. "I got a notification saying I'm on an individual plan now." "Yes," I said calmly. "That's correct." There was a pause on the line, the kind where someone is recalibrating because the reaction they expected didn't arrive. "Why would you do that?" he demanded. I poured water into the coffee filter slowly, deliberately. "Because we're not really together." "You're being petty," he snapped. "No," I said. "I'm being practical." "What does that even mean?" "It means 2 people who aren't really together don't need to share a phone plan," I said. "You made that very clear last night." "That's not what I meant, and you know it," he said. "I said I needed space." "You didn't," I replied. "You told a stranger we weren't really together. I'm just respecting that." "This is a punishment," he accused. You're trying to teach me a lesson. I took my mug and sat at the table. I'm not doing anything to you. I'm adjusting my life to match your words. He scoffed. This is ridiculous. So was announcing the status of our relationship to a waiter, I said evenly. Silence stretched between us, thick and uncomfortable. You're overreacting, he finally said. I'm responding, I corrected. There's a difference. I said I needed space, he repeated softer now. And you have it, I said. Your own phone plan, your own space. He hung up without saying goodbye. I drank my coffee, laced up my shoes, and went for a run. I didn't do it to clear my head. I did it to burn off the restless energy buzzing under my skin, the kind that comes from holding your composure when part of you wants to scream. By the time I got back, my phone was full of texts. You're blowing this out of proportion. I was stressed. Can we please talk like adults? This is not worth ending things over. I stared at the screen for a long moment before responding. We can talk when you're ready to explain what you meant by, we're not really together. Until then, we're not really together. That was it. One message, no paragraphs, no emotional bargaining. The text stopped. On Sunday morning, there was a knock at my door. I checked the peephole and saw him standing there with a cardboard tray of coffee and a paper bag from the bakery down the street, the one I liked, the one he knew I liked. I opened the door but didn't invite him in. Peace offering, he said, lifting the bag slightly. I'm listening, I replied. Can I come in? I'm fine talking here. His smile faltered. He lowered the bag. You're really going to make this difficult. You made it difficult Friday night, I said. I'm just following through. I made a mistake, he said quickly. I was stressed. About work, about us. It came out wrong. It came out honestly, I said. Those aren't the same thing. That's not fair, he said. It's accurate. He sighed, rubbing a hand over his face. I don't want to break up. Who said anything about breaking up? I asked. We're just not really together. Remember. Stop throwing that in my face. Why, I asked. You were comfortable saying it in public. He set the bag down on the floor between us. I'm sorry. Okay, I shouldn't have said it like that. There it was. An apology. Real this time. But apologies don't rewind moments. They don't erase humiliation. Why did you say it? I asked. Why that phrase? Why then? He hesitated, eyes flicking away. Sometimes, he said slowly, I feel like we're more like roommates who sleep together than partners. We're always working. We see each other on weekends and call it a relationship. The words landed heavy in my chest. So you've been feeling this way for a while, I said. Yes. And you didn't think to mention it until you were embarrassed about a restaurant bill, I said. He winced. I didn't plan it. It just came out. That's what worries me, I said quietly. Because when people are stressed, they say what they've already been thinking. He swallowed. I don't want to lose you. I need time, I said. How much? However long it takes. He picked up the bag, then hesitated. Are you seeing someone else? I looked at him, stunned. What? Are you talking to someone? He pressed. Is that why you're being so cold? I'm being cold because my boyfriend told a stranger we weren't together, I said. There's no one else. There's barely an us right now. He nodded slowly and left. I closed the door and stared at the coffee and pastries sitting on my kitchen counter. I didn't touch them. I just sat there thinking about 2.5 years of my life and how one sentence had cracked something that might never fit back together the same way. By Monday morning, the shock had dulled into something heavier. Not pain exactly, but a constant pressure behind my ribs, like I was carrying a truth my body hadn't figured out how to process yet. I went to work. I answered emails. I sat in meetings and nodded at the right moments. From the outside, I looked fine. On the inside, I kept replaying the same scene on a loop. The waiter's face, the pause, the words, "We're not really together," said so casually, it was almost cruel. Around lunchtime, I retreated to my car in the parking garage, needing air, needing space. I'd just closed the door when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost ignored it. Something made me answer. Hello. Hi, a young man's voice said. This is going to sound really strange, but I was your waiter on Friday night at the Italian restaurant. My stomach dropped. Yes, I said carefully. I know this is unprofessional, he rushed on, and I debated calling at all. But I found your number on the receipt tied to the reservation system, and after what happened, I felt like you should know something. My grip tightened on the steering wheel. Know what? She came back, he said. Saturday night. With another guy. The air seemed to thin. What I whispered. They sat at my table again, he continued. Same wine, same appetizers. They seemed familiar, close, laughing, touching. I don't know your situation, but it didn't feel right not to tell you. Did she recognize you? I asked. Oh yeah, he said. She looked uncomfortable for about 5 seconds, then acted like Friday never happened. Left a huge tip. Of course she did. Thank you for telling me, I said, even though my hands were shaking. I'm really sorry, he said. I've never done anything like this before. I appreciate it, I replied. He hung up. I sat there for a long time, staring at the concrete wall in front of my car, my pulse roaring in my ears. Less than 24 hours after telling me we weren't really together, he'd taken another woman, a woman I'd never heard of, to the same restaurant. I called him, straight to voicemail. I called again, voicemail. I texted once. We need to talk, now. No response. I finished the workday on autopilot, drove to his apartment, and parked out front. His car was there. I buzzed his unit. Nothing. I buzzed again. My phone rang. What he snapped. I'm busy. I'm downstairs, I said. Buzz me up. Silence. If you don't, I added calmly, I'll keep buzzing until someone lets me in. 30 seconds later, the door clicked. I rode the elevator to his floor, my heartbeat steady in a way that surprised me. His door was already open. He stood there in sweatpants and a hoodie, arms crossed, eyes guarded. What's so urgent, he asked. You were at the restaurant Saturday, I said, with someone else. His face went pale. Who told you that? Doesn't matter, I said. Is it true? It's not what you think, he said quickly. Then explain it. She's a coworker, he said. We had a work lunch that ran late. At 8 p.m. on a Saturday, I said. With wine. You're being paranoid. The waiter called me, I said. He thought I should know. He laughed sharp and forced. That's insane. That's harassment. Stop deflecting, I said. Who is she? He didn't answer. That was answer enough. How long, I asked. Nothing happened, he said. How long have you been seeing her, I repeated. We're friends, he insisted. We work together. Friends don't go to romantic restaurants on Saturday nights, I said. Friends don't order wine and get touchy. And friends don't humiliate their girlfriends so they can pretend they're single. You're twisting this, he snapped. I'm listing facts, I replied. You said we're not really together. Less than a day later, you're on a date with someone else at the same place drinking the same wine. He wiped his eyes. Tears surfaced suddenly like they'd been waiting for permission. I didn't plan any of this, he said. Things just happened. Things don't just happen, I said. You made choices. What do you want me to say, he asked. I want you to admit what you're doing, I said. Stop pretending this is about needing space. He looked at me for a long moment. Fine, he said quietly. Yes, I've been talking to her. We've gotten close. There it was. And Friday night, he continued, I realized I couldn't keep pretending. Pretending what I asked. That I still wanted this, he said. That I still wanted us. The truth finally had a shape. Then why not just break up with me? I asked. Why humiliate me in public? I wasn't sure, he said. I thought it was just a crush. But it wasn't, I said. No. I nodded slowly. Thank you for finally being honest. I turned toward the door. That's it, he called after me. You're just leaving. What else is there to say, I asked. You made your choice. You're not even going to fight for this. I turned back. You told a stranger we weren't really together. Then you went on a date with someone else. What exactly am I supposed to fight for? He didn't answer. I walked out. The week after I walked out of his apartment felt unreal, like I'd stepped into a version of my life where everything looked familiar but sounded wrong. I went quiet. Not in a dramatic way. I didn't post cryptic quotes. I didn't update my relationship status. I didn't call friends to cry on their couches or narrate every ugly detail. I just withdrew. I went to work, came home, cooked simple meals, slept early. I let my nervous system catch up to what my mind already knew was over. I changed the locks on my apartment. He'd had a spare key for emergencies, or what we'd called emergencies. I canceled the streaming services we shared, removed him from my emergency contacts, and boxed up the handful of things he'd left at my place. Not as revenge, as closure. For a few days, my phone stayed quiet. Then it started. A message from a mutual friend, someone we both knew from that birthday party where we'd met. Hey, I heard about you and him. I'm really sorry. I replied with a simple thank you. Nothing more. A few minutes later, he called. Listen, he said, sounding hesitant. I wanted to check in because, well, there's a version of this going around and it doesn't sound right. I leaned back against my kitchen counter. What version? He's telling people you broke up with him out of nowhere, he said. That you accused him of cheating with no proof and just walked away. I closed my eyes. Of course he was. I figured, I said calmly. So what actually happened, my friend asked. I told him. The restaurant, the waiter, the phone plan, the coworker, the confrontation. I kept my voice steady even when my chest tightened around certain details. When I finished, there was a long pause. Wow, he finally said. That's manipulative as hell. I let out a slow breath. Yeah. For what it's worth, he continued. A few of us have felt something was off with him lately. He's been distant, defensive. We wondered if something was going on. Well, I said, now you know. Do you want me to set the record straight? He asked. I don't like him spreading lies about you. I considered it for a moment. Do what you want, I said. I'm not interested in managing narratives. He laughed softly. Fair enough. I just wanted to ask first. After we hung up, I felt a flicker of something like relief. Not because the truth would come out, but because I didn't need it to. The people who mattered would see it. The ones who didn't weren't people I needed to keep close. A few days later, I got a text from him. I never meant to hurt you. You didn't even give me a chance to explain. I didn't respond. Another came that night. You're letting people turn you against me. Still nothing. The thing about stepping back is that it reveals patterns you couldn't see while you were standing inside them. Every message he sent framed himself as the victim misunderstood, unfairly judged, abandoned without mercy. Not once did he acknowledge the humiliation, the betrayal, the lies. A week passed, then another. I started sleeping better, eating better. The constant low-grade anxiety I'd lived with, the one I'd always blamed on work, began to fade. 2 weeks after the restaurant, my phone rang again. Same mutual friend. He came by my place, he said. Drinking. Talking about how he messed up. That's unfortunate, I said. He says he misses you, my friend added. Says you were the best thing in his life. I smiled faintly. People usually realize that once they lose it. He asked if you'd talk to him. No, I said without hesitation. Fair, my friend replied. Just wanted to check. That night I thought about how quickly someone can rewrite history when the original version makes them look bad. How easy it is to paint a woman as cold, unforgiving, dramatic, especially when she doesn't scream or beg or chase. I didn't need to defend myself. Silence was doing the work for me. 3 weeks after the restaurant, I was folding laundry on my couch when someone knocked on my door. Not the polite, hesitant knock of a delivery driver, not the casual tap of a neighbor. This knock was familiar, insistent, confident in a way that assumed it would be answered. I froze. Then it came again. Beverly, his voice called through the door. I know you're home. I didn't move. I can hear you, he added. Please, just 5 minutes. I stood, walked to the door, and looked through the peephole. He was there, eyes tired, shoulders slumped, holding nothing this time. No coffee, no pastries, no peace offering wrapped in paper. Just regret. Go away, I said through the door. It didn't work out, he said quickly, words tumbling over each other. With her. You were right. I closed my eyes. Please, he continued. I made a huge mistake. I opened the door, but kept the chain on. He looked relieved. Just seeing my face like that alone meant something had shifted. It was just infatuation, he said. I confused excitement for connection. I see that now. I studied him quietly, the dark circles under his eyes, the rehearsed sincerity. And I asked, and I want to fix this, he said. I want to do it right this time. There is no right version of this, I said. Not anymore. I still love you, he said desperately. I never stopped. I tilted my head slightly. You love the idea that I was still here. That's not fair, he said. It's completely fair, I replied. You kept me in place while you explored something else. When it didn't work, you came back. He shook his head. I didn't plan it that way. You didn't have to, I said. Your actions did it for you. Tears filled his eyes. I messed up, he whispered. Can't you forgive that? I can forgive you, I said gently. Forgiveness doesn't mean access. He stared at me like he didn't understand the language I was speaking. So that's it, he asked. We're just done. We were done the moment you told a waiter we weren't really together, I said. Everything after that was just confirmation. He swallowed hard. I wish I could take it back. So do I said. But you can't take back moments of truth. He reached for the chain instinctively, then stopped himself. I didn't mean to hurt you. I know, I said. But you did. And knowing better now doesn't undo it. He stood there for a long moment, then nodded, defeated. I guess this is goodbye. It already was, I said softly. I closed the door and locked it. He knocked once more quietly this time, then left. I leaned my forehead against the door and let out a breath I felt like I'd been holding for weeks. 4 months passed. Not dramatically, not in a montage of tearful nights and sudden breakthroughs. Time moved the way it always does, quietly, steadily, and somewhere in the middle of it, I realized I was breathing easier again. The first change was sleep. Deep, uninterrupted sleep. The kind I hadn't realized I'd been missing until it returned. I stopped waking up with a tight chest, stopped checking my phone first thing in the morning like I was bracing for impact. I joined a gym near my apartment. Nothing extreme, just enough to remind my body it was still mine. I started cooking again, real meals, not rushed leftovers, eaten standing at the counter. I picked up hobbies I'd slowly abandoned while trying to be emotionally available to someone who was already halfway gone. The silence in my apartment stopped feeling empty and started feeling intentional. A few friends reached out, mutuals, who'd heard different versions of the story and wanted clarity. Some apologized for believing his side without asking mine. I accepted those apologies without resentment. People don't always get it right the first time. Others didn't reach out at all. A few openly took his side. Said things like relationships take work or you should have tried harder to communicate. I didn't argue. I didn't explain. I let those connections fade naturally. No anger, just clarity. One afternoon, I ran into the mutual friend who'd warned me early on. We had coffee. He told me the truth had quietly corrected itself. Most people see it now, he said. The way everything unfolded, the overlap, the lying. That's good, I replied, surprised to realize how little it mattered to me. He hesitated. He and the coworker tried to make it work. I raised an eyebrow. How'd that go? 6 weeks, he said. Then it imploded. Apparently he has commitment issues. I laughed once softly. That's poetic. He left his job not long after my friend added. Too awkward to stay. I nodded more amused than vindicated. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt confirmed. The waiter crossed my mind occasionally, the stranger who'd chosen honesty over convenience. A few weeks earlier, we'd met for coffee, nothing heavy. He'd apologized again for getting involved. You did me a favor, I'd told him, even if it hurt. I'd bought him dinner at a different restaurant. Not as a date, just as a thank you. We weren't friends exactly, but there was an unspoken understanding between us. Sometimes the people who show up at pivotal moments aren't meant to stay, they're meant to redirect you. I went on a few dates. Casual, low stakes. I took my time, asked better questions, paid attention to how people showed up, not just how they spoke. I wasn't in a hurry anymore, because I finally understood something I hadn't before. Peace isn't boring. It's rare. And I wasn't willing to trade it for uncertainty again. People still ask me about it sometimes. Not in a dramatic way, more like a sideways curiosity, usually over drinks or during a long walk. They want to know if I regret how I handled it, if I wish I'd said more, if I should have caused a scene at the restaurant, demanded answers right there, forced him to explain himself in front of everyone. The truth is, I thought about all of that afterward. I imagined standing up from the table, my voice shaking, but loud enough to turn heads. I imagined asking him who she was, why he'd been texting all night, why he needed to humiliate me to feel free. I imagined storming out, leaving him with the bill and a lesson. But none of that would have changed the outcome. He still would have wanted someone else. I still would have been blindsided. The relationship still would have ended. It just would have been messier. What people don't understand is that silence isn't weakness. Sometimes it's restraint. Sometimes it's clarity. Sometimes it's the moment you realize there's nothing left to argue for. He told a stranger we weren't really together, and he meant it. That sentence didn't slip. It didn't accidentally fall out of his mouth. It came from a place he'd been standing in for a while, a place where I was optional, where commitment felt negotiable, where honesty mattered only when it was convenient. Everything that followed the phone plan, the distance, the refusal to engage with his attempts to rewrite history, wasn't punishment. It was alignment. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't beg. I didn't compete with another woman for his attention. I simply adjusted my life to match his words. When he realized the other relationship wasn't better, when the excitement wore off and the consequences settled in, he came back hoping I'd still be there, hoping the door he'd casually pushed open for himself would still be unlocked. It wasn't. Because love isn't about proximity, it's about choice. And the moment he chose to tell the world we weren't really together, he freed me from pretending otherwise. The bill was split evenly that night. The relationship wasn't. And somewhere in the quiet aftermath, in the mornings without anxiety, the evenings without doubt, the relationships that didn't require me to decode silence, I learned something I'll carry with me for the rest of my life. The calm response is often the most powerful one. You don't always need closure. You don't always need an apology. You don't always need the last word. Sometimes all you need to do is